So last week, as you're aware, we sent out an update on trying to get back to full days of instruction and a little variation of our normal full day instructional schedule. If you recall, and I believe it was directly quoted in the paper, that I said at the last meeting, a lot of the initiatives that we're putting into place since March 2020 are not ideal situations for anyone. We're really looking at all of the possibilities. In a lot of cases, I think the quote from me was that we're looking at all of the worst case scenarios and trying to pick the best of them, because unfortunately, the ideal situation where we're in school, mask free, nobody's testing positive for COVID, we're not quite there yet. But as we had said at the beginning of the year when we were returning to school, that our goal was to try and make this as normal a year as possible for our students, within the guidelines and restrictions that are placed upon us, and within the guidelines that are being recommended for us to follow by the New Jersey Department of Health and by our local health officials. And so that is exactly what we are trying to do. And we had gone to an early dismissal schedule for several weeks, given the rise in cases and the staff attendance issues that we were having, not due to necessarily our staff testing positive for COVID, but a lot of them had childcare issues because the daycares for their children had closed, or their own children had to quarantine because they were close contacts. So we did have some staffing issues that caused us to make that decision. And then another benefit of that decision is it allowed us to avoid having lunch for several weeks. And the issue with lunch is that it's the best opportunity during the day for close contacts to occur. And a close contact is when you are within, even whether you're masked or not, within 3 feet of somebody for 15 minutes or more. And as per the guidelines, then if you're not vaccinated and you're a close contact, you have to quarantine. If you are vaccinated, as long as you're symptom free, you do not. However, as everyone is aware from what you've seen in the news, the Omicron variant is very contagious, so even vaccinated individuals have been testing positive. What has been good in all of this is that we haven't seen staff members and students, for the most part, getting very ill. They've had minor symptoms. However, we still have to follow the quarantine guidelines. And so it was causing a lot of students and staff to be excluded from school. And our goal, as I reiterated, is to keep the school open for in-person instruction and provide a safe and healthy environment for everyone here. That is why we're taking this intermediate step. Right now it is just for the next 9 days, or 8 days after today, where we're back to a full day of instruction, but we did not want to put the full period of lunch back in place. Given that fortunately, if you saw, the transmission rate is now down below 1 for New Jersey, which is great. So it seems like things are starting to slow down. But we were concerned that if we went back to the full lunch period, we would have that uptick again in close contacts and in positive cases, and we would end up excluding a lot of students from school. So that's why we are temporarily putting in the snack period instead of the full lunch period, with a plan to go back to our regular full day with a full lunch in 2 weeks. And we're going to reevaluate it at the end of this week. It's possible that we will change things for next week. We really, on Thursday, we'll take a look at everything, see where we are with students that are out for COVID-related issues, staff that are out for COVID-related issues. I can tell you that has gone down significantly in the 3 weeks that we went to early dismissals. I had shared that information with Bob. We went from nearly 400 students that were out for COVID-related reasons to less than 90 as of Friday, and we went from almost 30 staff members to 2 staff members today for COVID-related reasons. So, that is moving in the right direction. I know there's been a lot of talk about the snack period and the fact that, that's not an ideal length of time for lunch for students and for a break for students. I am fully aware of that. I'm not saying that this solution is the best solution, the best idea in terms of a schedule, but I think it's the best solution we have now to get us back to a full day safely and while keeping kids here. We didn't pull the plan out of thin air. We've been talking about it for several weeks while we were in the early dismissal mode, looking at other schools' models. And there is another school that has been implementing this since the beginning of the year. We have a 15-minute snack period plus 5-minute passing time. They just call it a 20-minute break or 20-minute snack time. So it's the same amount of time, and it's been working very well for them. The reason for the 15 minutes is because if it's more than 15 minutes, then we have to contact trace. And so we're trying to make it so that we keep kids here, and that by students eating in school, it doesn't then cause an uptick again in students needing to quarantine or students transmitting COVID. We're evaluating it. You know, I talked to Mr. Rivera today to see, you know, do we need to add any kind of additional changing time for it. You know, we did give everyone a heads up to that, you know, that ideally it certainly would be the best for you to bring your own food, just because we weren't sure what lines were going to be like, but we will be evaluating it, and you know, we will make changes as we need to. Prior to COVID, when we would be planning for something in school, for a schedule change, we've been talking for years about trying to start high school later. Anything during COVID, we find, you know, we learn about, and we basically have to implement it almost immediately. This is very, very different than the way you generally operate with schools in terms of being able to pilot something, work out the kinks. We are, you know, trying to do what we can to make sure we keep this as the safest environment possible with all of our students here. The other thing just to keep in mind, part of the reason for the longer lunch period, that's when students have science labs. So if a student has a lab on a given day, the amount of time they have for lunch, including passing time, is only 23 minutes compared to the 20 minutes that they have now. So it's not that it's significantly shorter than it is for students on a given lab day. Again, that being said, we're not selling it as a long-term solution. We're looking at it as a short-term step to get back to our normal full days. And again, we'll be looking at, you know, sitting down to look at everything again at the end of this week to see if we need to make any changes, and even making any changes before the end of the week to the particular schedule. So I just, you know, continue to thank everyone for their patience and understanding and flexibility. The students have been tremendous, as have our staff, and I feel very, very lucky to work here, to work with such a talented faculty, and with such outstanding students. The students have really kept such a positive attitude during all of this, that I commend them for it. Because I know this has, you know, certainly not been a high school experience that they expected when they were in middle school coming to their high school orientation. So that is where we're at right now. We did send out the updated guidelines last week as well, so thankfully that has been the quarantine timeline, given that you meet certain conditions, that you're not symptomatic, has been shortened from being able to return on day 11 to being able to return on day 6. So that is certainly moving in the right direction, and we're hoping that the numbers keep getting better, and so that we will be able to get back to normal and also have a lot of our events that are planned for the spring. So hopefully that provides some clarification, and I will keep all of you posted. And I really truly appreciate the board's support as well, and patience and collaboration through all of this, because I think that's what's really helped to keep us be able to keep school open and maintain our in-person instruction. So thank you.